back to the second episode of the Uknown / Deep Impact podcast.
First, second.
Yes.
Well,
this is the first.
Starting off strong.
This is the first reiteration of the original show that we did a year ago, and we did one episode of East Liverpool. But this one is going to be on the Deep Impact page. So once again, I'm the host, Bo Walker, and I'm joined by Mark Carson, Jason Cephas, and we're all together for the first time in a while. After I just helped Mark put up his Christmas lights for the fourth time this year.
Second time, okay? Don't exaggerate. And they fell because you suck.
No, they fell because the wind blew.
That's fair.
All right. So, Uknown. First off, hold up. What are you drinking?
Oh. High quality H2O.
It's also 11 in the morning, so...
Yeah, it's kind of early. That's why I got me a Red Bull and a not sponsored Prime.
I feel like I need to make a cup of coffee right now.
I know.
It's like
this is the earliest. We usually record this at 7 o'clock. Are you making a cup of coffee?
I know. It's weird.
We usually record at 7 o'clock at night. This is very early for us.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
And it's a Sunday, so we've got football coming on in a little bit.
Monday.
Yep. But so the premise of this show is it will be an informative show where we are going to talk about different towns throughout the Ohio Valley, which is where we live, the OV. But yeah, so we're going to be talking about towns, breaking them down, going through some history, talking about the sports in that city if there are any, whatever, talking about famous people who have lived / been born in there. And then we're going to try and talk about a mystery from each town, something unknown, something like that. Given the whole premise of the show is OV Unknown. All right, so we're going to start with the history of Wheeling. I'm going to be covering the history, geography, like demographics.
He's Bo Walker.
I'm the geography guy. So, Wheeling was founded in 1769. All right.
That's a good year.
It was a great year. Could you tell me one other thing that happened in that year?
I would.
No,
would
you can't.
Just
tell me you can't. Just say you can't.
Alexander Hamilton probably wrote something.
That's not a far-fledged guess.
Thank you.
That's a good.
I'd probably we could Google it and make sure.
Alexander Hamilton was okay. We're not getting into that. So actually, the town grew up around Fort Henry, which they actually still have Fort Henry Days. It's a big celebration. But it was founded by Colonel Ebenezer Zane. It was founded on, as we know, the Ohio River. It became a major port for coal and steel. Are you seriously looking up?
I am looking up Alexander Hamilton.
Okay, cool. All right.
That is happening. However, I am still listening to you.
So, wait, what? Go back.
No. You saw George Washington.
No, I didn't.
Know you're related.
I didn't. What year did it say that he was in office? Scroll up.
85 to 95. 89 to 95, sorry. He was the treasurer.
Oh, he was the treasurer of the United States until 95?
1795, yeah.
That is the same year that Wheeling was established as a town.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. How about that segue?
There you go.
That's a segue.
So it was established as a town in 1795 and incorporated in 1836 through a charter that was granted by the Virginia Assembly. So it was actually part of the state of Virginia. And Wheeling was loyal to the federal government during the Civil War. So our section, not our section because we live in Ohio, but the section of West Virginia that is now West Virginia. So that is how West Virginia became the state of West Virginia. They were loyal to the federal government. They decided to break away from the state of Virginia. And in the first convention of the delegates to separate from Virginia met in Wheeling on May 13th, 1861, and they inaugurated the movement, which finally resulted in the admission of West Virginia to the Union as a state, happened in West Virginia, June 20th, 1863. So the papers that were signed to create West Virginia as a state were signed in Wheeling.
Wheeling was the first capital, right?
Wheeling, West Virginia was the first capital of the newly found state from 1863 to 1870. And then it was moved to Charleston And then in 1875, it moved back to Wheeling
I thought it was twice, and then went
Yep.
back to Charleston.
in 1885, where it has remained since.
Should have stayed Wheeling.
Absolutely should have stayed in Wheeling. Could you imagine how cool that would be to have the state capital right across the river from us? To have done my internship in college for the state government.
The state capital.
But yeah,
As
so
much as I like Jim Justice, I don't really want him that close.
yeah, that's a good point. It's a lot of congestion, a lot of traffic.
A lot, yeah.
You know, but
I'll follow motorcade just to go to Sheets.
yeah. But yeah, so Wheeling became an iron and steel development. Not development. Well, yeah, kind of guess so. They had the steel mills and then a bunch of the iron plants that created nails, which is what? You don't say.
The Wheeling Thunderbirds.
What? Oh.
We'll get into that later.
We'll get into that. But also another industry that thrived in Wheeling was tobacco.
Yeah, Marsh Wheeling Stogie.
Mm-hmm. Cigars.
If you ever go to the Mansion Museum at Ogleby, there's a section when you get upstairs. I don't remember exactly what room it's in, but there's a whole room that looks like an old store, and everything behind the glass at one time was made in Wheeling.
Really?
I mean, there's tons of stuff, canned food, and I mean the toys, and it's really cool. Yeah, when we toured there a while back. That's what they were telling us, that everything in that room was at one time had been made in Wheeling.
But yeah, because of all the iron and the nails being made in Wheeling, it became the nail capital of the world. Not something that you think of when you think of Wheeling, West Virginia.
Yeah,
at first
nails.
thought, you know. But yeah, so it has in recent history, recent times, the population has dropped. It has gone down. So according to the 2021 census, not 2021, 2020 census, the population estimate as of July 1st, 2021 of Wheeling, West Virginia was 26,568 people. So as of April 2020, when the census was done, it was 27,009. So it's gone down a little bit.
You know, but here's like we think of Wheeling as a small city, which it is. But like, I mean, that's not a bad population. Like
Exactly.
I mean, for around this area, Wheeling's a big city.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean, just
but
in the immediate area. I mean, obviously, you're close to Pittsburgh, close to Cleveland.
and I
close to
think that's
Canton, but,
why
like,
I think that's why Wheeling kind of loses some recognition, just because it is so close to Pittsburgh and Columbus and Cleveland and
but as it stands right now, it is an older city, not older, like, I don't know how to describe this without coming off weird. It is an elderly city. So
there's a lot of older people.
yeah, the majority of the population, we might have had a little bit of lag. Little apology for that. 23.8% of the population is over 65 years, and 52% of the population of Wheeling is female. So there is a majority female population living in Wheeling.
It's good averages.
It is. Now, when I was at West Liberty, I did my internship with the city of Wheeling.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, I'm proud of this still.
He had to pat himself on the back.
I did. So if you go to the city of Wheeling's website and you hit a little hamburger in the top corner, 3 lines, it's called a hamburger.
A hamburger.
You've never called it a hamburger?
Can't say I have.
Never? Really?
nope.
I've just called
Never
it like
did.
menu.
Okay, well, you hit the 3-line menu up top.
The hamburger
that.
bun.
Hit that, you drop it down. Departments, Parks and Recreation. There is a tab where you can click on, all the way at the bottom, the interactive parks map.
By the way, it was not all the way at the bottom. It was like the third thing you click on.
Actually, it's not, because it's not.
Okay, fair enough. We said all at the bottom.
It's almost all the way at the bottom.
That's
Click
fair.
on the interactive parks map, and if you're doing it on a mobile device, it'll bring up, you click public parks, public pools, playgrounds, ball fields, basketball courts, or tennis courts. You go in, and it brings up a little map of every single park in the city of Wheeling. Wheeling has, what did I say, 37 public parks. And yours truly designed this site when I did my internship. Humble brag. Very not so humble, actually. Very proud of it that it's still working. But yeah, you go say you want to click on number 34. It takes you to the Grandview Park, which sits atop the Wheeling Tunnels. Which actually, do you guys know why? Okay, so real quick, a little other history about Wheeling. Wheeling has Interstate 70 coming through it. It also has National Road, which was a big founding or a big part of Wheeling's, like the boom growing up with Wheeling.
Yeah.
But I forgot to mention that. But so there's Interstate 70, which goes through tunnels. That is the only place on Interstate 70 that it goes down to 2 lanes. So 70 comes down, left lane goes through the tunnel, right lane goes down into Wheeling. That is the only place on all of Interstate 70 where it goes down to 2 lanes. Okay? Do you know why Interstate 470 was built as a bypass to Interstate 70? No. Fun fact. It was during the Cold War. It was built as a bypass because they thought that if the Russians bombed the Wheeling tunnels, they would cut off Interstate 70, one side of the country from the other side.
Makes sense.
So they built a giant bridge over top of the High River, which is another big target, you would think.
Yeah.
I think you could hit either one of them. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so go check out that site map.
It'll be linked in the description.
Oh, we can do that.
We have technology.
I mean, it is a YouTube channel.
It is.
We can do that stuff.
But yeah, so do we want another section of Wheeling? There is a public park on the website called Tunnel Green. Okay, and there is a dog park, baseball field, hockey rink. There's also the Wheeling Heritage Trail, which goes across there. There is a stone viaduct that it goes across. Right on the other side of that is a train tunnel. So that used to be a train track that they just decided, oh hey, we're just going to make this into a biking trail. So for anybody that knows about the Tunnel Green trailhead right there, it is haunted. In air quotes. Air quotes. Are you mocking me? Yeah. So there is a question about why it is haunted. So the origin of this tunnel, when the tunnel was built in the 1850s, atop the hill was a cemetery called the Peninsula Cemetery, which they disinterred and relocated all of the bodies that were in that cemetery and moved them to what is now the Peninsula Cemetery.
Demon said,
yeah,
hold my
see,
beer.
that's
yes.
just, you're just asking for that.
Exactly.
Like,
so, it was the Hempfield Railroad Company, which was later acquired by Baltimore and Ohio Railroad, B&O Railroad, for the purpose of connecting Wheeling to Greensburg, Pennsylvania. So there was also a murder that happened in the tunnel. German immigrant Joseph Eisel is said to have murdered fellow immigrant Elios Ulrich inside the tunnel on June 29th, 1867. He is also charged with killing 2 other men, and he went on to become known as the Hatchet Slayer, and was the last person executed by hanging in Wood County.
Slinging slasher.
So there are reports of seeing a man's body, like a full body apparition in the tunnel. There are also legends of hearing screams and seeing green goo dripping down the walls.
Before we get into Jason's story, you've heard of Mark Storm? So I'm covering famous people. He's kind of infamous, but
I have not.
So Mark Storm checked himself out of a mental health facility in 1997. Because you just ended on like haunting horror stories and murders and stuff. So anyway, 1997, Mark Storm checked himself out of a mental health facility, went to his house, killed his wife, 2 daughters, brother, and mother, and then committed suicide.
In the tunnel?
It was just in the city of Wheeling, but I was like, this.
if that was in the tunnel, that'd be
awesome.
And
Not
then,
awesome, but you know what I mean.
Not really awesome.
Again,
Yeah.
and I'll get to that one in a second because that's an interesting person who I didn't know had some ties to the Wheeling area, and I think will surprise you. So, sorry, Jason, take it away.
Yeah, so I'm covering the sports aspect of each town.
What you don't say?
Yeah, I know. If you couldn't tell already. Yeah, if this wasn't a dead giveaway on who we're doing, so obviously Wheeling, with it being around as long as it has seen its fair share of different sports, obviously. One that may not be super prominent right now is baseball. I feel like baseball is kind of like second, maybe, behind football in Wheeling.
Are you talking about like currently?
Yeah.
Popular sports?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I'd argue. I would say football is definitely number one.
Yeah.
I would argue baseball is 3 because there's a ton of hockey in Wheeling.
Okay. Yeah.
And I mean, not just regardless of the Nailers, but I think hockey is huge in this area with all the high schools that have it. So, but anyway, I think baseball's a popular sport.
Yeah. So I researching this. I had no idea that it went back as far as it did. Mm-hmm. So it goes all the way back to 1866, and that's just 3 years after it became a state. So, or after West Virginia became a state. The first recorded game in the Mountain State was the Hunky Dory Baseball Club taking on the Union Baseball Club from Washington, Pennsylvania.
I need to bring that back.
Hunky Dory, I'm down. I'm down with some Hunky Dory baseball.
I'm feeling hunky dory today.
That's right.
The Hunky Dory Club was a roster comprised of mostly Civil War veterans, which I think is cool. 20 teams were founded in the city of Wheeling and its surrounding areas.
That's just crazy that in 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it grew 1,000 times.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about, boomtowns during, throughout history. And I mean, that's kind of similar to it.
Did you say earlier where the baseball field was that they played at?
I didn't. So it was played, the first game was played at the Wheeling Island Commons.
Now, do we know, is that where the casino now is?
I don't know.
Because I know that there's at least 3 parks on the island.
Yeah.
That all have baseball fields. I mean, they're small. 2 of them are small. One of them is a decent size, and it's behind the new fire station at Bridge Park.
Well, you also got to think this was 1866. So
there weren't.
So
there wasn't a casino on the island then.
Well, and you're not having guys like Aaron Judge who who can crank a ball across the island.
He could probably hit it from Ohio to West Virginia.
Probably.
Oh, easy. Next Pittsburgh Pirate, I'm calling it.
Yeah.
Mazeroski, come back.
Yeah. But yeah, so 20 teams in 2 years, incredible boom. Several teams were sponsored clubs, and others were represented by neighborhoods. So East Wheeling, Belair, and Wheeling Island. The others, as I said, were local companies, and by 1877, Wheeling possessed its first professional baseball team. That baseball team went through several different ownership groups and went through several different name changes. They started out as the Standard, they went to the Nailers, and then the Mountaineers, before finally landing on the name Stogies. The Stogies, and this is from baseballreference.com, were affiliated to the New York Yankees for 2 years, from 33 to 34. And that is when... Okay, so before I say who it is, who would you say is the most famous New York Yankee of all time?
Joe DiMaggio.
Okay, well, not who I thought was going to
Joe,
say.
well, hold on. I mean, you got Joe
Lou
DiMaggio,
Gehrig.
Lou Gehrig, Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth paid a visit to the Friendly City.
Oh shit!
Yep. When they were affiliated to the Yankees.
Really?
Yep. Babe Ruth paid a visit to the Friendly City. Moving from baseball to football, kind of. I would say one of the bigger attractions to Wheeling is Wheeling Island Stadium. For those that don't know, Wheeling Island Stadium is a football/soccer stadium. The original portion of the stadium was built June 10th, 1927, which I had no idea that it was that old.
Know either. Yeah.
But yeah, 1927, that's when it's dedicated to. And in 1987, they expanded and no end zones. That's obviously empty, but yeah, it's mainly for high school football. Right now going on is the Super Six, as we're recording this, which is a big high school football tournament that they always host there. It's super popular.
It's high school soccer,
lacrosse, yeah. It's also had a couple concerts, mainly the one that is just in this article that I found. Came in 2009, and that was REO Speedwagon.
2009?
2009.
How did I not remember? Like, how do we don't remember that? We were in high school.
So, on September 27th, 1962, former President John F. Kennedy delivered a speech at the stadium.
Really?
Which I did
not know.
If it
was around the same time we went to West Lib.
I would
assume so.
I would assume so.
There's
a plaque up there.
West
Liberty.
The stadium is owned by Wheeling Park High School, which is obviously that's who plays there, and it is considered one of the best high school stadiums in the entire state of West Virginia, for obvious reasons. It's also located right by Wheeling Island Casino, so parking is rarely an issue.
It's abundant.
And yeah, the stadium is complete with a 3-level press box with camera deck and private boxes for the coaches. In 2008, a video system was installed at the stadium, which is the big screen that we see now, which 2008, that's, I mean, it took the Nailers how long to get a Jumbotron?
Exactly,
and it's all operated by students that go to Wheeling Park High School. So, that's why
I think that's the coolest part about it.
Yeah. It's all student run. Mm-hmm. So,
they call their own games. They call them on the radio as well. Yep. On their radio station.
Yep. And in 2004, the previous grass surface was replaced to pro-grass turf. The main reason for this was because the stadium is in a flood zone.
Major flood zone.
Uh-huh. And 2004, it flooded bad.
Yep.
And so that's why they changed it from grass to turf.
More durable turf.
Yep.
But like they used to have circuses there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they would instead of having getting everything over there, they would have live circuses with elephants, with all of these animals. Do you know how they would get the animals to the Wheeling Stadium?
Barge.
No. That is a great guess, though. I never would think about just floating an elephant down the Ohio River.
I mean, that was my first thought.
That was good. No, they would actually, they would either bring them in on train or they would bring them in how their storage vehicles, and they would park them in downtown Wheeling.
Drop them out of a C-130 with a parachute.
No, it's a big ass parachute. They would walk them across the Wheeling Suspension Bridge.
That's why that thing's all messed up.
Which, incidentally, is the largest or the longest freestanding suspension bridge in the United States. little bit more history.
Can't drive across that bridge because if you did now, you'd probably die.
They're trying to fix it though.
Yeah, they're trying.
I don't know if
to
we're ever going to drive across it again.
I love that bridge.
Mm.
They used to do when they used to do the 4th of July fireworks.
Yeah.
They would line them up across it, and then they would just like the little rainfall thing.
Yeah. Moving on to football in the city of Wheeling, it has had its own semi-pro football team called the Wheeling Ironmen, which paid homage to the Pittsburgh Steelers, even incorporating the black and gold color scheme, because back then new teams coming in tried to kind of not pander, but
Pander.
yeah, more or less. They wanted to, kind of look similar to a team that was closer. So the Wheeling Ironmen.
Did they ended up transforming into the Greyhounds? Okay, never mind.
No.
That's why Jason handles the sports here.
No, so the Ironmen was outdoor football.
Oh, okay.
The Ironmen played at
Wheeling Stadium.
Wheeling, yes,
I got
they
you.
played at Wheeling Island Stadium.
Now, are there Wheeling Ironmen banners hanging in West Bangor Arena?
Yes, there's one commemorating the championship.
I think that's why I was getting confused.
That they won.
Okay.
And then, so another pretty popular venue in the city is West Bangor Arena, formerly known as the Wheeling Civic Center. And the Civic Center, as it was known at the time when it was built in the mid-70s, cost approximately $10 million.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's it?
That's it.
Really?
Yep.
Now you try to build a stadium, you got to bring like a couple $100 million.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ground broke in August 1975, and the 7,500 seat facility opened on Tuesday, April 19th, 1977, with the Doobie Brothers playing the opening concert, followed on the following Sunday by someone who recently just passed away, Olivia Newton-John.
Aww.
Yeah. In 2003, the arena went through some naming changes. A $2.3 million contract with West Banco Bank for a 10-year naming rights deal, changing the name from the Wheeling Civic Center to West Banco Arena. It was renewed in 2013 for another 10 years for another $2.5 million. So that's a lot of money, like putting into the building. And plans for a 3-phase renovation process came to fruition. Phase 1 came when a $850,000 video board was installed at the end of January, and that was 2015 when it was installed. And phase 2 of the renovation was new seats. If you went there in the old days, they had plastic orange seats.
Orange seats, man.
If you go to TJ's restaurant, they have a line of the old orange seats as soon as you walk through the doors.
Now listen,
listen. The Let's Go Nailers chain is just not the same.
I was just about to say those were the most uncomfortable seats in the world.
They really were
full of static.
Yep.
Oh yeah, you just shocked the shit out of yourself.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
He was just talking. Jason was just talking. He said, it's wintertime when you go and you get shocked from touching the rails and stuff.
Yeah.
But nothing beat the Let's Go Nailers when you hit those seats in front of you.
You just beat the hell out of those seats, dude.
Yep.
It was awesome.
Yep.
But yeah, new seats, new handrails, and a $4.2 million contract was signed to to make a new entrance. So the basically the front of the building was torn down and they built a brand new entrance. And
it does look damn good.
They
It does.
They brought it all the way down to street level, which again, if you went to that building before the renovations, you had to walk upstairs and a ramp.
That's what I'm trying to find an old picture of it because I don't remember what it used to look
Yeah.
like at this point.
Yeah, you had to,
it was a
steps
smaller
to
arena.
walk up.
Oh, there it is right there.
Mm-hmm. And
oh yeah, it looks 10 times better.
yeah.
Yeah, the old arena just looked goofy.
Yeah.
It was just a weird shape.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like, Wheeling is a kind of a landlocked city.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's just tough to expand the downtown area. They really have to do a lot with what they have in the city already. And so the arena, I mean, there's really not a lot of room to grow with the arena itself, just because you can't really move. If you move any further south, you're going to take your parking lot away. If you move any further north, you're going to take the street away.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can't move east because there's the river.
Nope, that's west.
That's okay. I'm sorry, west. Yeah, move west
And if you
because there's a river.
move east,
there's
there's a
parking garage and a road.
Yeah.
So like they really are just they're stuck.